Once upon a time in the land of Thebes there lived a king named Oedipus, his wife Jocasta, their 4 children, and his brother-in-law Creon. Oedipus was a brave and wise man, and proved his courage by saving the people of Thebes from the Sphinx that was terrorizing their land. By answering the Sphinx's riddle correctly, Oedipus killed her and became king. Oedipus, Jocasta, and Creon shared equal rule over the land for many happy years, until a plague descended on Thebes, consuming it. People were dying, herds were sick, children were dying before they were even born, and crops were failing. Thebes was suffering, and the people called on Oedipus, pleading him to help. A priest came to Oedipus and spoke on behalf of the people, describing their situation. Since Oedipus cared deeply about his people and his city, he had already sent Creon to the oracle of Delphi to learn what could be done. Soon, Creon returns with news from the oracle. He tells Oedipus that the oracle has commanded them to exile or kill the murderer who brought the plague to Thebes. Oedipus is confused, and Creon explains that before Oedipus came, Laios was the king, but was killed by a band of highwaymen who attacked him on the road. Oedipus realizes that to end the suffering, he must bring what is dark to light and find out the truth about Laios' death. Once again, Oedipus addresses his people and assures them that he will do whatever he can to find the criminal. He also prays that the murderer's life be consumed in evil and wretchedness. Oedipus's loyal friend Coragus suggests that he talk to the blind seer Tiresias, who will surely be able to detect the criminal. Tiresias comes in, and Oedipus kindly asks him to tell him anything he knows, because there's no finer duty than helping others in distress. However, Tiresias refuses to speak because although he knows the truth, he doesn't want to burden Oedipus with it when the knowledge will only bring more pain. Oedipus grows angry, insulting Tiresias' blindness and blaming him for the death of Laios. Tiresias goes on to call Oedipus the pollution of the country and the murderer whom he seeks. Tiresias, the blind man, is able to see the truth while Oedipus is blind to it, even when Tiresias is spelling it out for him. Oedipus's blindness is a recurring motif in the play because although he's smart, he is also oblivious to what he has done. Oedipus continues to grow angrier, even going so far as to accuse Tiresias of working with Creon to overthrow him and become king. Tiresias finally starts to talk and describes the prophecy. He says that the murderer killed his father, will call his children his brothers, and will go blind. Then he leaves, letting Oedipus ponder what he has said. Next, Creon comes in and asks Coragus if Oedipus was serious when he accused him of being the murderer. Creon knows that he has never done anything to hurt Oedipus, and the fact that he is being called disloyal to his fellow citizens, friends, and Thebes itself displeases him. Coragus is loyal to Oedipus and refuses to say anything, not wanting to betray his friend. Then Oedipus enters and starts yelling at Creon about how he is a fool for trying to take power with Tiresias' help. Creon tries to assure him that he does not want to be king, and thankfully Jocasta enters before they kill each other. Oedipus tries to convince his wife that Creon is evil and has been plotting against him, but she knows that Creon wouldn't hurt him. Creon is still calm, and he swears that he wishes Oedipus no harm. Jocasta begs Oedipus to accept this, and he does, even though it means that he will be exiled or killed since Tiresias accused him. Creon leaves, and Jocasta asks Oedipus to explain what's going on. Oedipus tells her about Tiresias' prophecies, and she tells him not to worry because prophecies are worthless. She goes on to tell him about the prophecy she and Laios were given that said that their son would kill his father. They made sure it could never happen by binding the child's ankles together and leaving him on the side of a hill to die. Later, it was clear that the prophecy didn't come true because Laios was killed by highwaymen, not by his son. However, this explanation jogs a memory, and Oedipus begins to suspect that he may have actually killed Laios. He asks Jocasta to send for the servant who witnessed and survived Laios' murder, and when she agrees, he explains his fears. He reminisces on his childhood in Corinth, where he lived with the people he thought were his parents. One day, he heard someone talking about how he was adopted, and when his parents denied it, he went to the oracle for advice. She told him that he would grow up to kill his father and sleep with and have children with his mother. Mortified, Oedipus fled Corinth to avoid his fate. When he was traveling, he was forced off the road and got so angry, he killed them. Then he continued on to Thebes, where he killed the Sphinx and became king. Oedipus still remains hopeful that he isn't the murderer, but when a messenger comes from Corinth to tell him that his father is dead, he finds out the truth. The messenger tells him that he was in fact adopted, and that a shepherd brought the baby Oedipus to him to give to the king of Corinth. Conveniently, the shepherd is also the one who witnessed Laios' murder, and was summoned to tell Oedipus about what he saw. When the shepherd arrives, Oedipus questions him despite Jocasta's pleading that he stop trying to find out the truth. She begs him to stop trying to find out about his past, but he is determined and ignores her. The shepherd tells him that the baby belonged to Laios, and Oedipus finally realizes that he is Laios' son, and the prophecy did come true. Oedipus' quest to find his identity leads him to unknowingly fulfill the prophecy he tries so hard to avoid. By fleeing Corinth, he leads himself closer to his doom, showing that no matter how hard you try, you can't avoid fate. When Oedipus comes to this realization, he rushes to Jocasta's room, only to find her hanging from a noose. He rips the golden brooches from her dress and plunges them into his eyes over and over while he cries. Now that he is physically blind, Oedipus can clearly see his fate, and everything he did to ensure the prophecies would come true. He wishes that he had never been saved from the side of the hill, because then he wouldn't have had to suffer. Oedipus is still determined to save Thebes, so he decides to exile himself. Before leaving, he asks Creon to see his children. Oedipus, the tragic hero who saved Thebes from the Sphinx but was not able to avoid his own cruel fate, says goodbye to his daughters, then exiles himself.